Hello and welcome to Notebook. I'm Jim Tuttle, your host. Today we'll visit McGinn, Evergreen, and Coles Elementary Schools. In our first segment, we'll visit with students at McGinn who are listening to former Scotch Plains Mayor McClintock answering their letters as well as taking their live questions.
My name is Mrs. Lawler. I teach third grade at McGinn School. The children read a story in their reader called Jason Wants a Library. Jason was a little boy who lived in Utah, and his little town did not have a library, and Jason decided he'd like to do something about that. So he went to the mayor's office and the town council and asked if perhaps he could start a small library in the basement of the town. The people at the town council said that would be fine, and Jason started a small library in his hometown, which grew and grew, and today holds about 20,000 books. It's a true story. Jason wound up going to the White House and visiting with President Reagan and became very famous. Jason's now in college. The children decided to think about their town and what they might suggest to a mayor and a town council about some of the things they'd like to see in their town. We wrote letters to Mayor McClintock and Mayor Stender, and both mayors were kind enough to respond back to us. And today, Mayor McClintock is going to visit us, and I'm sure the children will have lots of questions to ask. Yes, today are Mrs. Phillips, third grade, and Mrs. Mayoros, third grade from McGinn. Tim, some questions about what it's like being mayor, and also they gave some of their ideas for what they'd like to see in their towns of Scotch Plains and Fanwood. And Mayor McClintock appreciated hearing from some of the third grade students, and he was kind enough to take some time out of a very busy schedule to come to McGinn and visit with us. So we'd like to applaud Mayor McClintock and thank him.
Thank you. I wanted to come for a lot of reasons. I liked the letters that I got, and both of my children came to McGinn. And some of you may know Jimmy is just in 6th grade, so he was in McGinn last year. And my daughter Karen's now in the high school. They both went all the way through McGinn. And so I've spent a lot of years with this school and know a lot of the people, and we only live just a few blocks away, right down on New York Avenue, so it's always been very close. I wanted to talk about the letters a little bit. I also responded quickly because in Scotch Plains we change the mayor every year, and if I waited another few days I wouldn't be mayor anymore, so I wanted to get to you while I was still mayor, because on January 1st we'll have a new mayor in Scotch Plains. I'll still be on the council. In Scotch Plains, the mayor is one of the 5 council members. In Fanwood, it's different. Mrs. Stender is elected as mayor separately, so we have a different form of government in the 2 towns. But that was one of the reasons I responded quickly, because if I didn't respond, then I wouldn't be able to answer the letter while I was still mayor. I thought the letters were great. I thought there were a lot of great ideas. And, there's some things that we can do and some things we can't do, but I think there's some germs of ideas here that you never know what's going to come of them.
Mayor McClintock, you must be a little tired from all the things you do.
One person asked for sidewalks. And sidewalks, is that you? Sidewalks is something that the town is involved in. Before we put them in, we always want to make sure everybody in the neighborhood wants sidewalks, because some neighborhoods don't want them. But usually if they do want them, we'll put them in, and it's something that we can check with you and your neighbors later on. There are a lot of people who wanted a museum, anywhere from a science center to a children's museum. And I think it would be a little aggressive to try and match the Liberty Science Center. That took many years and many millions of dollars to have them develop that. And it's a wonderful museum. And it's close enough, I don't think we need another one of those right here in Scotch Plains. But, you know, a little children's museum would be wonderful. I don't know exactly where we'd put it. We need to find a building or a house, but, you know, something like that would be very nice. Somebody wanted a movie theater somewhere in Scotch Plains or Fanwood. That was you. I think that's a great idea. I think it's something the town can't do, but if some businessman wanted to come in or some company that owned movie theaters, I think it'd be wonderful to have a movie theater in our town because neither town has a movie theater right now. I think we're about the only town around that doesn't. Westfield has them, Cranford has one. Watchung up in Blue Star has one, Berkeley Heights has one. We're one of the few towns that don't have a movie theater. A lot of these letters had to do with Fanwood, the Fanwood Library and so on. Of course, I can't have anything to do with Fanwood other than talk to Mrs. Stender, but you know, if she gets back to you, she may be able to respond to some of those questions. Somebody was asking for more programs, arts and crafts, and somebody else wanted to have a camp. We do a lot of programs in Scotch Plains, and a lot of them we do together with Scotch Plains and Fanwood because the school system is the same for both towns. Many of our programs are sports programs, and many of our other programs we do, you know, anybody in Scotch Plains can participate in the Fanwood programs, and the Fanwood people can join the Scotch Plains programs. But our recreation department, which is in charge of our parks and in charge of all of our sports programs and so on, has so many programs. They put out a booklet every year, and it lists about 100 of them that they do. And one of them is very much like a day camp. You know, we have a summer park program where children from 6 to 13 can come to Brookside Park every day, and they have programs and they have arts and crafts. Some of you guys probably have done that. I know my kids both did it, and it's a wonderful program. And there's arts and crafts programs that the town sponsors. There's one just for grades 3 through 6, so you guys would all fit right into that category. So there are a lot of programs that are there already that would fit into some of these requests. A number of you asked for a skating ring. Are we talking about roller skating or ice skating? What kind of ice skating? Was it ice? You wanted a roller rink. Okay, so we have both. I wasn't quite sure, so we have both. I think in Fanwood they put a small one up by pouring some water into an area, and we might be able to do something like that in Scotch Plains too. I think that would be a nice thing to have. To have a huge one with rentals and skates and everything else would be difficult, but it's a nice program. Somebody else asked for parking for the commuters. They wanted Scotch Plains to build a parking lot near the Fanwood train station, which I think would be wonderful. Unfortunately, I don't think Fanwood would let us do that because all the land near the Fanwood train station is in Fanwood, and I don't think they'd let Scotch Plains do that. But we're working with the State Department of Transportation to build a parking lot up near Route 22 for commuters who catch the buses up there. And the state has this program called Park and Ride, and so this is the kind of thing we do look at. It's the kind of thing we are interested in. Is the kind of request we got on that one. I'm skipping over some because there are, several skating rings and so on. Somebody wanted a big bike store. I think that would be nice. That was yours? We had a bike store in Fanwood. There was a bike store. Somebody wanted a very big carnival. They also wanted it. Karen? She also wanted it right near her house, I think, right?
She gave her address.
Yeah. I don't know if that could. I don't know how easily that could be done, but I think you live in Fanwood, right? So we'll leave that to the Fanwood mayor. But we do have some carnivals. We have the St. Bart's has a very large carnival or festival every year just before school. starts every year. And so there are some festivals around, yes.
We have festivals somewhere inside and somewhere else.
Yeah, here at the school you mean, or, yeah? Yeah, I've been to some of those over the years too. And if somebody wants a wildlife preserve for birds. Of course, we do have a lot of parks, and the town has all the parks. And those parks are not only for people, but they are for the birds and the animals that live in the parks as well. And this request, it talked about feeding the birds, and I think something like that could be worked out. If somebody wanted to go and feed the birds, you have to keep filling those bird feeders in the winter time. I don't know how many of you do it in your own backyards, but I do. I have bird feeders that I put out every winter. A bike path. Somebody wanted to have a bike path. That was you? We're actually looking at something like that. There's an area where it's a double, it's got a little problem maybe too, but there's an area where these wires go through, all the way through Scotch Plains and Fanwood. And there's a strip of land that's fairly wide that goes through the two towns that's not used by anybody. And we're looking at the possibility of putting a walking path or a bike path. There's some concern because those high tension wires also, some people think, may cause health problems, so we don't want to put the path there until we're sure that it's safe. But it's something we're looking at. We'd like to have more bike paths and more walking paths. We're also looking at one down in a county park down in the southern part of town.
There's this sidewalk near Brookside Park.
Yeah.
It's not really safe for bikes because they have this hill and it's very bumpy.
It's bumpy.
And somebody could really fall on it.
Yeah, in some places, like the sidewalk that you're talking about, we don't put in a cement sidewalk, we put in an asphalt one, or one is like blacktop. And we do that because it can go around the trees and it can go up and down as the land goes. And a lot of neighbors like it, but it would be a little bumpy for bikes.
There's a sidewalk right by Brookside Park, just all bumpy.
Yeah,
That's what I was
the
saying.
same one, yeah, it's on
It's all-
Hector.
it's all I didn't see.
Yeah. Let me just tell you a little about what it's like being mayor, what we do in the town, and then I'll answer any questions you might have. I'm mayor of just Scotch Plains. We have 5 council members, and we run the government of the town of Scotch Plains, and that includes the police department. We have a fire department. We have a road department. They fix all the holes in the road and they repave the roads and so on. They plow the snow so that you can get to school when it snows. We always do the streets near the schools first. I'm sure you'd like to hear that. That's the first ones we do is clear them out so you guys can get to school. We have a recreation department that has all the parks and the programs. We have a tax collectors department who collects the taxes so that we can provide the services, not only for the town, but we collect the taxes for the schools, and we collect the taxes for the county as well. We have a court. We have a judge who, if somebody does something wrong in Scotch Plains, they have to go before the judge, and he, decides whether they were right or wrong. And what else do we have? That's most of it. Some of it's internal. We have other departments that help run the town for the finances and so on. The mayor in Scotch Plains is responsible for running the meetings. I'm the chairman of the council meetings. All of our meetings are on television. I don't know if anybody's seen them on Channel 34, but we broadcast all of our meetings live, second and fourth Tuesday of every month, and then they rerun them a couple times in between meetings. And we not only broadcast our meetings live, but we even take phone calls at the end of our meetings, which allows anybody even who's watching television to call if they have a question for us.
In our next segment, we'll go to Coles School, where Miss Armstrong is in the resource room teaching word building. Mrs. Hoyer's pre-K students are learning math through pattern building, and Miss Patton will explain a unique reading program.
I'm Miss Armstrong. I teach a resource center at Cole School, and this is a group of second graders. And we'll be working today on sounds, and this is our dominoes cards to start us with our program, to be putting the words together. The new sound that we will be working on today is these two sounds. Okay, what I want to do first is I want you to tell me this ending sound. Okay, now we have to remember to clip our sounds. Okay, we don't want them to drag out. Okay, looks like everybody knows how to say that sound. Okay, now this is very similar. Okay, remember the CH is the noisy sound, right? And we have that noisy sound on both of these cards. Okay. All right, so we're going to be using just these two endings today. Okay, Jeffrey, let's start off with you. Can you with?
Are you different?
Okay, great, Jeffrey. Okay, now, a couple of these have a lot more letters to them because we're getting into really hard words. Okay? Max, you want to go next?
Pet.
Okay. Rob?
Buck.
Okay. Yune?
Huh.
Okay. Topher?
Math.
Okay, now I'm going to start with a really hard one. Max, you think you want to try the first hard one?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Star. Bear.
Look at it carefully.
Giraffe.
Skr.
Giraffe.
Remember the sound that the
Scrap.
short A makes? Right. Scrap. Okay, that was a tough one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Topher, you want to try the next hard one?
Right.
Okay.
Rock.
Very good. Crap. Okay. Want to do the rest of them? Rob. Okay, Yune. We're getting so good at these two-letter ones, aren't we? Jeffrey.
Cat.
Okay. Max.
Black.
Okay. Topher.
Bear.
Beth. Okay, let me put that down one. Okay, here's one with three letters again. You want to try this one, Max?
Yeah.
Okay.
Snack.
Okay. Rob?
Rust.
Okay. All right, we have two left. We'll use them later. Okay, now we're going to put our endings on. You ready for this? Okay. Max, you want to try the first one?
Yeah. Witch.
Very good. Witch. Okay, we all know what a witch is, so we don't have to talk about that.
Grill.
Okay. Jeffrey, this one. Pitch. Very good. Do you know what pitch means?
A pitcher or a
Pitch. Pitch the ball, right? Okay, did you know that one, Yune? Okay. All right. Next one is, I'm going to change the ending, so be careful to watch. Topher,
thing.
look at the beginning, the vowels. Bunch. Very good.
Bunch of boys.
A bunch of boys. Okay, there's a bunch of boys in here. Okay.
Yeah.
Rob.
Punch.
Punch. We all know what that means, and we don't do that, do we? We're going to use the words from the story. They're the same words that we used with the domino cards. So we're going to be writing just the word on the chalkboard. So I'm going to tell you a little story, and you'll just write the word when I leave a little pause. You'll write that word on the chalkboard. And remember, we're using these ending sounds. You have them on your chalkboards. Okay? You ready? Okay, this is a funny story. This is a story about a witch. Can you write witch on your chalkboard? Witch. Okay, remember what the endings are supposed to look like. Okay, this is the kind of witch that drives on a broom. Okay, I see, Jeffrey, that's good. You followed the endings at the top. Max, check and see if you followed the endings that are on the top of the chalkboard.
Me?
No, Yunay has an extra letter.
See, I did it.
Topher, you got it? Okay, is this an I?
Hey.
Okay,
Yep.
I just wasn't sure. Great, everybody got it.
I'm Bernadette Boyer, and this is the pre-K class at Coles. And we have been doing a lot of work with patterns in our math program. And this morning, the children are going to play a couple pattern games with me. And then they're going to go to their tables and work at some pattern stations and show you some of the things that they can do. Okay? I need my leader is Kiki. Can you come stand right here? I'm going to make a pupil pattern, and I want you to try and figure out what the pattern is and see if you
The
can
smallest and the biggest.
You don't know yet, because I only started with one. Mike, what are you going to do next?
Stand.
Good for you. And what comes next, Sean? Good job. Cecilia, can you go join the pattern? Okay, Justin. Christine, what's next? Keep watching, Keith. You're doing a super job. Christina, what comes next?
Sit.
Okay, good for you. Alex, can you come be in the pattern?
Up.
Good for you. Michael, what's next?
Down.
Good for you. Neil, come and finish the pattern. Super job. Okay, this is a people pattern. Now, how can we read this pattern? Who's got an idea?
I know. Up,
Christina.
down, up, down. Up, down, up,
Okay,
down,
let's
up,
read it
down.
that way. We'll use those words. Up, down, up,
Down.
up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. How else can we read it?
Up, down. Sit down.
Okay, we could use what word, Keith? Stand and
Sit.
sit. Okay, here we go. Stand, sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, stand, sit. And I'm going to put these right over here by the red line. If you choose, excuse me, I want you to listen so that I only have to say the directions one time. Thanks. If you choose to work at this station, I'd like you to make a pattern right on the red line with the blocks. At the magnetic board, there's a box with some shapes. If you choose to work at this station, I'd like you to use these spaces so you can make a pattern on the magnetic board.
Oh, green.
At the red square table, we have dot. Remember how to do these?
Yeah.
Okay, see if you can make a dot pattern. I'd like you not to touch the blocks yet, because I need your eye. See if you can take a workspace and make a pattern with Unifix cubes. Sure, you can move around as many times as you would like to. Okay, here I'm going to put something different over here. We're going to let four people do necklaces, and then when they're finished, you can do. Here you go. Okay, Nicole, I'm going to give you one of these to start. Okay, a color is the same. You can make a color and then color it. Dad, what pattern you made today?
Look at how much you
And I'd like you to read me your pass and then say, oh, you Mrs. Gale fixed it for you.
Yes. Sing the next holiday.
Right, and what else did you use?
Weird.
Good for you. Keep going. What's this?
Keep going.
What comes next? Good for you. What comes next? Good for you. Road and highway? Which one is the highway?
Pick it up.
want to read this with letters. Just a minute, sweetheart. I'll be right there. I'll be right there. Suppose you read
Don't get silly. You're funny. Dad, don't get silly. Why not that? You don't have to get me a pattern anymore. A cat, like a black cat that only rides spiders.
I'm Mrs. Jacob, the librarian at Coles School, and every Tuesday I leave the library and come into this room that is the music room when it's not being used for music, and I teach computer lab. Every class in the school has a chance to sign up to come. Sometimes we do writing exercises the way I'm doing with this class now. Sometimes we do math software, sometimes we do language software, and the teachers sign up to bring their classes on Tuesdays. I also do accelerated reader for the 4th grades right now in this room too. Right now I have Mrs. Patton's 1st grade class in the computer lab, and we're just starting to type a story. This is the first time that they've been in the computer lab this year, so we're starting to go over some of the basic keys that they need to know about. Their story begins with the words, "Oh no," and that's where we are right now. And when Mr. Wyatt came in to start filming, I was just starting to teach them where to find the exclamation point on the computer, because this first little sentence ends with an exclamation point. All right, students, turn around back to your keyboards now. And I want you to look at the very top of your keyboard where all the letters, where all the numbers are. And I want you to find the number 1. Can everyone point to where the number 1 is? All right. Now, we have used the shift key before, haven't we?
Yes.
You know you need 2 hands on the keyboard. I want everyone to press the shift key down that's on the right-hand side of the computer. Press the shift key down and hold it down. And now press the number 1. Hold the shift key down and press number 1. And you will get sometimes more than 1 exclamation point. There we go. All right, has everyone got their exclamation point?
No.
Elizabeth, press the shift key down. Okay, it doesn't make any difference. Hold it down, now press the number 1. There you go. Now, no, hands off the keyboard or you'll get too many. You got a lot of exclamation points. All right, that's the end of our first sentence. What do we need to press in between words and sentences? Stephen?
Spaces.
Space bar. Now, if you look up here, you'll see at the end of a sentence, whether it's a period or an exclamation point, you need 2 spaces before the next sentence. So I want everyone now to press the space bar, not once, but twice. 2 times. All right. Now you're beginning your second sentence. What do we need to do to the word at the letter at the beginning word of a sentence? What do we need to do to it? Jennifer?
It is uppercase.
Uppercase. How do we make things uppercase? Elizabeth?
Shift bar.
Shift key. Okay. Your first letter of your second sentence is T. Press the shift key with one hand, hold it down, and press T with your other hand. Find the T. You got too many. Okay. You need to touch gently. All right. Now, shift key. Hold it down. Hold it down. Now press 1 T. And then take your hands off the keyboard. All right. Go ahead and type the next word. Begins with T. What's your word? And at the end of typing THE, what do you need to press before the next word? Space bar. But only once now, because
Evergreen will be the focus of our 3rd segment. First, Mrs. Agnostak's class will show us how they begin their day. Then Mrs. Tucker's 2nd graders will show us a reading and writing exercise. And Mrs. Crisp's 4th grade class will be exploring the southeastern United States to do their research papers.
I'm Laura Agnostak and I teach first grade at Evergreen School. Come on in and I'll show you how we start our day.
Stand. Good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My country, tears of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of thy pilgrims' pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Okay, thank you very much. Chris, would you please do the attendance report?
There. Honey children in our class, 0 absent, 20 children here today.
Very good, thank you. Calendar and meteorologist.
Today is Thursday, yesterday was Wednesday, tomorrow will be Friday.
Okay, thank you. What comes after Friday?
Saturday.
Saturday, right. Does anybody remember how many days there are in a week? In a calendar week? 7. And how many are in a school week? George?
5.
5. Right. What's the first day in a calendar week? Jamie?
Sunday.
That's right. And what's the first day in a school week? Candace?
And Monday.
Right, very good, thank you. And Kelly, today is day what in first grade?
74.
74, that's right. Imagine that we've been in first grade for 74 days. Think of all the things we've learned. How many bundles of 10 are in our box for 74? Do you remember? Colleen,
7.
would you check, Kelly, to make sure that there are 7 bundles in there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Good, thank you. And how many ones should we have in our box for 74? Nicole?
4.
Okay, would you check to make sure we have 4?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you.
Really left and
Okay, good. How many days ago was it Nicole's birthday? John? Let's see. All right, ready?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes! Right, okay. In how many days will it be Martin Luther King's birthday? Danielle?
11.
Let's see. Okay, ready?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes! Good, okay, thank
I'm Marilyn Tucker, second grade teacher at Evergreen School. And the boys and girls have been reading a story called Nick Joins In, and now they're discussing questions with themselves, with each other, with their partners. And they're going to go over all of the questions, talk about the vocabulary words that they've had, and then they will write the answers back at their desk.
Thank you, David. Okay, turn around, Dave. You're ready to start.
Mrs. Laws, our aide, is working with the boys and girls, and she helps them.
My name is Nicola Crisp. I teach 4th grade at Evergreen School. We're doing a project in social studies. The kids will be doing a report. The social studies curriculum in the 4th grade focuses on each of the 5 geographic regions of the United States. The economy of the regions, past and present, is examined in depth. In addition, New Jersey is studied and is a major emphasis of our study of the Northeast. As a culminating activity of our study of the Southeast region, each child is doing a state report on a particular state in the Southeast. Not only are they learning about the state in greater detail, but they're also honing research skills by using encyclopedias, almanacs, atlases, non-fiction books to find information that they need. Now, they will be telling you some of the information that they have been finding out in the report. Okay, anybody volunteers who wants to suggest some of the things they've been looking up? Okay, Raymond?
We should look up the state flag and the state seals and the state motto, the state bird, the state tree, the state song.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to add something different that you have been looking at beside those things? Philip Saraceno. A little bit louder, Philip.
The history of how it became a state, like its motto.
Okay, anybody else? Chris?
How it's got its nickname and what its nickname is.
Okay. Drew?
We're also looking up the population of the people, the area, the school, the special features.
Thank you. Katie?
The name of the settlement, the exploration, and the colonial and territorial days.
Okay, anybody else? Chris? Anything else? Ray?
We're learning about the weather and the climate with the first noted habits and
Inhabitants.
yeah, and exploration settlements and colonial days.
Okay. Anybody else? You can thumb through your report if there's anything else that we forgot. David?
We're learning the high temperatures, the average rainfall, and low temperatures.
Okay. Philip?
The economy.
The economy. Good, because that's one of the main things of the whole thing. Excellent, Philip. Drew?
We're learning about the high highest and the lowest points in the state.
Okay, the elevation. Alicia.
The resources.
The resources. Mart. The what? The history, thank you. Katie.
The physical features and political features.
Physical and political features. Chukuka.
We're learning about land regions and the size of the states.
Good. And Drew, that was the last one. I think we pretty much covered everything.
We're learning about the largest cities, and we have to tell how many people are in them. The largest
Good.
cities in that particular state.
You know where you find that? Look at the history. The history part of it. You guys gotta hurry up. You got it already? Okay. Mark Stable. Okay, Samantha Stable. Mark, keep it down.
We need to know the first
First name Stable.
In our final segment, we'll return to Cole School, where the students are experiencing a special presentation on the rainforest.
This is Doherty. I teach 3rd grade at Cole School. I'm delighted to have Vicki Parker with us today. Vicki is going to make a presentation on the rainforest. We're going to be learning more about a Brazilian tribe on the Xingu River. Mrs. Parker?
Okay. What I want to teach the children is about this particular group of indigenous Indian peoples called the Wowsha people. Now, I learned about this particular group from an anthropologist who worked with them and lived with them for about 2 to 3 years. And they have a very interesting culture in that they've solved a lot of problems that we are still dealing with, like homelessness and people not having enough food to eat. And the way they've done this is they have a very sophisticated network of trading where any surplus goods that they have or make are traded and given away. And nobody in Welsh culture is allowed to have too much or allowed to have more than their neighbor. And I think this is a particularly good time of year to talk about this because everybody is thinking about Christmas and what they're going to get for Christmas. And we've just had a food drive to collect food for homeless people. So I think it's something that's in people's minds. And it's important that the kids learn that there are not just Indians in North America. There are a lot of Indian peoples in South America who live very differently than we do, who we might think are primitive, but who have been able to overcome some things that we have in our culture. So that's why I think it's important to do this program. Everybody hears are sounds from an actual ceremony that was recorded among the Wowsha people, who are the people that you're going to be learning about today. And when you listen to the sounds are a lot different than the sounds that we hear because they're all natural sounds. They're sounds that they would hear around them. It's not like a rock band where they hear electric guitars or synthesizers or even piano. Everything that the people that live in the Amazon have, they have made it themselves and they've created it with things that are around them. And I'll just have Mrs. McCrone walk around and show you a rattle. This is a rattle that was made by the Wowsha people. It's made out of a gourd, and I'm sure everybody knows what a gourd is. Does everybody know what a gourd is? And they hollow it out and fill it with beans and then decorate it with feathers, and they etch some lines into it. And this is jungle cotton. It's not string where they could go to a store and buy it. It's something they would make. Okay, I know you have all learned a little bit about the rainforest. Who could tell me some of the things that you've learned about the rainforest? Okay.
The levels of the rainforest.
Okay.
The soil. That's when we get our medicine from.
That's right. The rainforest has a lot of different plants that have medicinal properties, and in fact, the Indians and the Indian people who live there know a lot about the plants in the rainforest because they've been living there for thousands and thousands of years. So they've learned a lot about the plants by living there. And so our scientists are now going to the rainforest and asking the Indian people who live there to tell them what plants are good for what kinds of things, so that our scientists are learning from Indian people. Lindsay. Okay, good. That's another thing we're going to learn about. Jonathan?
In like 54 to 58 years, all the rainforests are going to be cut down.
If we keep cutting them down the way we are. Christina?
You can get a lot of stuff in the rainforest.
Yeah. Who can show me on the map where Brazil is?
Oh!
Jesse, you've had your hand up for a long time. Right. It's in South America. Does everybody know where that is? Everybody see that? Now, Brazil is the 4th or the 5th largest country in the world. It's the biggest in South America, but it's also one of the biggest in the world. One of the reasons they don't wear clothes is because they have to climb. I know that you all learned about the different layers of the rainforest, and there's 4 different layers, and they climb up into the canopy of the rainforest a lot of times to do their hunting. So they'll be carrying a bow and arrow like the one Mrs. McCrone will show people, and they'll have to climb high into the trees with that. Now, if they have clothes, the clothes could either catch on the bow and arrow or it could catch on the trees, and it would be more of a problem for them. Okay, and so here's a picture of somebody using a bow and arrow, and then here's another picture of somebody with a feathered headdress. Mrs. McCrone will show you. This is an actual Wowsha headdress. It's about 25 years old. It was collected from an anthropologist who lived how to do this. Everybody is going to get 2 of one item. Okay, so if you get a turtle, you'll get 2 turtles. If you get a bug, you'll get 2 bugs. One of them is for you to keep, just like a Wowsha. One is for you to keep because they don't expect anybody to give the last of their things away. Everybody is allowed to keep something for themselves. Not yet. But everybody has to give one thing away. And we're going to do, even though we're not Wowsha, by sharing the way that the Wowshas would in their ceremonies, we're going to see what it's like to trade like Wowsha. Oh, let me wait till she passes, Dorothy. Okay. What this ceremony is called among the Wowsha is called a haluki, and every adult is able to participate. Now the children, if you were a Wowsha child, even if you were 2 years old, you would be expected to give things away. The trading starts when you're very, very young. When you're little, you have to give things away. And a lot of times the Wowsha children really don't like giving things away because they're not as experienced as adults and they're still learning the rules. But for an adult Wowsha, it's a privilege to give things away. And it's a privilege to participate in a ceremony like this. Now, we're not Wowsha, but we're going to be seeing a little bit about the way they do it. What I would do if I was having a haluki is, and I had things to give away, everybody would come to my house, and everybody would sit around in a circle just like you're all sitting. And I might have some beautiful baskets that I made, and there are people that would want to trade with me for my baskets because I'm a wonderful basket maker. I learned how to do this from my grandmother, who was like the best basket maker. So what I would do is I would put my basket down, and somebody who would want to trade for one of my baskets might be sitting over here, and they would be like, and they'd get up and then they would sit down because they would pretend that they were being shy, even though they really wanted it. And what would happen was all of the neighbors would encourage me, oh, go get it, go get it. So the Welsher, because they're not greedy people, are kind of, like shy about doing this. But I found, since I've done this in the other 2 third grade classes, I've found that we tend to be a little bit more greedy. So if it's something that we want, we're like, oh, okay? So we'll try to be a little bit less like where we are, and let's try to think.
Really pretend.
Right, we need to really think about being Welsh.
The Welsh tribe. No, not be greedy. We're not ourselves. Not be greedy.
Right, we're going to try. Right. The other thing is that you have to remember that the things that you're going to be trading are things that are either things that are from the rainforest or things that are important to Welsh people. So it might not be something that you might want, but think about if you were a Welsher, this is something that you might really want. So we need to think about that. All right, so I know everybody is really anxious to open up what they've got and see what it is. And so everybody can open it, and then we'll start.
Do we have to trade it first?
I got mine right now. Everybody open it first.
I got crystal things.
Just remember, you don't have stickers, you don't have symbols. Well, you have some marmosets, which would make really good pets. Yep, you have marmosets. Okay, one other thing, guys. No trading until it's your turn. We will have. You still have to give one away. Now, Jesse's question was, what if you give something away that you really like and somebody gives you something you might not want so much? That's not a choice. Well, yes, you can trade it away, but just like we're going to be just like the Welsher. Sometimes the Welsher might give put something up for trade, and he might not like what he gets back in return either. So that's going to happen too. Is you might give.
Oh, Jesse.
No. Sit down. I'll.
Sit down, Jess.
Okay. Sit down. All right. What we're going to do now? The Welsher have a special chair, but I don't have one of those special chairs. So this is going to be our special chair, and this will be the trading blanket. And Jesse asked how they would make this, and this happens to be a Navajo Indian blanket, but the Welsher, right, you'll study them later, but the Welsher also have special blankets that they would make. Now, what I'm going to do is when you come up here and you put your thing down, I'll talk a little bit about it. So, Jesse has some delicious cicadas, and I'll pass around a picture. What do you think the Welsher people would do with cicadas?
Delicious cicadas.
Eat them.
Right. They roast them over the fire and they eat the soft parts. Okay, so now anybody can trade. Anybody could trade for these delicious cicadas, which taste just like shrimp. So who wants some delicious, juicy cicadas?
I do.
Okay. Now I'll pick them and then we'll see how this goes. The object is we're going to try to pick people who haven't gone where they want. Okay, now this is the important part. When you want to trade for something, Michael, you can bend down. Michael will put down what he has to trade, and then when he picks up the cicada, that's when we give our whoop, which is woo, woo, woo. So when Michael picks it up, we have to give our whoop, and that's how the Welsher celebrate trading. Okay? And then Michael can go back, and then Jesse collects his beautiful hummingbird. Now, when it's Michael's turn to trade, Michael has to trade his hummingbirds. Okay? But once Michael has traded, if he sees something that somebody else wants, he could trade either thing. So you can trade even when it's not your turn, but you can't trade the original thing that you got until after you've given your halloumi.
Can you trade that?
You can trade either one. Okay? So, now, and what we're going to do is we're going to go around the room because I think that's easier. Okay, Brandon.
Is my... No,
We're going to go around the room. Brandon has some baskets, and his grandmother was the best basket weaver in the culture. But don't put your hands up until I'm done talking, and that way it'll be easier.
This
Because
way
then
you
you'll
find
be
out what the
right.
product is.
You have to learn
And
what
why
it is.
important.
And what, right, because remember, you're Wowsha, you're not, you know, third graders at Cole School. Okay, Brandon's grandmother was the best basket maker in the village, and he learned basket making from her because she was such a good basket maker. Now, the women use baskets for a couple different things. They carry their manioc tubers and they store their cotton in it. Who knows what a manioc tuber is? Nobody knows what a manioc tuber is. You're all Wowsha and you don't know what manioc tubers are?
Yes.
Yes, manioc tubers are like a root type plant, I think sort of like a yam or a sweet potato that grow under the ground, and the manioc the Wowsha eat them as a staple of their diet. They make a gruel, which is like an oatmeal out of it, and they also make bread out of it. So if you were a Wowsha, you would eat lots and lots of manioc.
So you would really want that to
So
have
you would
something
really,
to carry
right.
them.
And if you were a man, you would want it for carrying fish or for storing your feathers in.
They're much bigger than this in real life.
Oh, I'll trade.
In fact, here's a picture of a bath. The Amazon people actually make gorgeous baskets. Here's a picture of one of their baskets. Okay. This is like a really hard decision because there's so many hands up.
Please.
Ashley, you were the most polite about raising your hand.
What do you want, Ashley? I'm trying to be shy.
Now guys, I'm losing my voice because I've been yelling all day. So you're going to have to help me with the whooping and sort of lead the whoop. Oh, look what Perry has, and I'm going to send some pictures around. There's 3 kinds of snakes that live in the Amazon, and if you put your hands down, I'll tell you about them. Okay, there's 3 kinds of snakes. Does anybody know what kinds of snakes? No, cobras live in India. There's poisonous snakes, there's constricting snakes, and there's non-poisonous snakes. Does anybody know what a constricting snake is?
I know.
Chad?
The boa constrictor.
Right, but how does it kill its prey?
Oh, it wraps it around really tight.
Right. Now the Wowsha people would not trade for snakes. They would avoid snakes because snakes, you know, kind of hang from the vines, and you can't tell the difference sometimes.
Snakes sometimes they act like alligators.
Okay, sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes they hang from the vines, and when you're in the rainforest, you can't tell what's a vine and what's a snake. And by the time a Wowsha person is close enough to a snake, if it's a poisonous one, he might not have enough time to get away. So they try to avoid snakes. But Perry's got some neat little snakes.
I got one of them.
Who's had their hand up like the most politely? I don't know, Mrs. McCrone might have to help on this one. I need scouts to, you know, help me.
This looks like alligator.
That's I think an emerald tree boa. I think Harvier, Luke. Okay, Luke.
Oh!
Ready?
Oh, that's cool.
Thank you for watching Notebook. We hope you've enjoyed it.
is Mr. Bucket.